My name's Dave Anderson. I'm a straight incorporated survivor from January 1978 to February 1981. This is part two of Jessica's story. Due to some technical difficulties, we had a little problems with part one towards the end, but we got it worked out now. How you feeling, Jessica?
I'm feeling good today. Thank you for asking.
Good, good. I don't know if you remember where we were kind of leaving off. We were kind of talking about a practice called indictment or indicting. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, the forums.
In
Yes.
forums.
So, yeah, so 3 times a week we had something called a forum, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And all of the students went, and one or two staff members would run the group. And I think I had already explained about how we got in a circle, and you could make a request to indict someone. So you had, I think actually we had to make requests. We had to put at least three, I believe, something like that, in a box. And then that, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the counselors would decide who goes in what group, who's going to get indicted, and have it all set up and ready to go for us. And we would walk in the room. I would be nervous. I would be shaking. Even the last the last forum, I was still scared of because they were so intense. Um, it was traumatizing. So during these forums,
And you were fearful. Were you fearful that the focus was going to be on yourself? Did
yes,
you, or were you fearful of you would have to focus on somebody else?
I was afraid of what they were going to say to me. I was so hard on myself and still am that I would think of anything and everything they could possibly, get me for, including like looking someone in the eyes if they were on bans, which means you're not allowed to talk to them or look them in the eyes or anything if they're in trouble. So, I
Right.
think, oh my gosh, did I look anyone in the eyes that was on bans? Did I accidentally say Nine Inch Nails out loud? Was my shower 11 minutes and not 10? So I would sit there and worry about what I was going to get yelled at for. And then I would also, be, nervous about what was going to happen with other people. At the beginning, I was very nervous. I didn't want my friends to get yelled at, and it was so horrible watching them just get ripped apart, just for nothing, for peeing in the shower. Someone pees in the shower and they would get yelled at to the point, that it would go back to their childhood and somehow be connected to, these deep issues. And and then we would have to yell at the floor, and they would not let us leave until we had been yelled at by every person who wanted to yell at us, and they would not let us leave until we did exactly what it was they wanted us to do, which was usually indict other people, make sure like each person was supposed to say something or try to find something to get them for. And just the guilt of uh just trying to pick at people was horrible. Why couldn't we talk about the
Well,
positive things?
and you said this took place on like on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right?
Yes, and
3 days a week.
it was supposed to be
How
three
many
hours long.
hours
So it was
supposed to be?
supposed
How
to
long did they usually go?
sometimes 3 hours, but there was one that was 9 hours. That's the longest that I had ever been in one for. They would keep you in there if you would not admit. So if they said I peed in the shower and I really didn't, I would have to say I did, because if I did not, they would yell at me for everything else under the sun, and they would not let us leave the room until I admitted it. So it was this horrible like shaming thing with my peers, or with someone's peers, because you didn't want to say something that wasn't true, that you did wrong, but it was better to say it than to sit in a room for hours and have people be mad at you for not admitting it and holding up their time, and we weren't allowed to go to the bathroom during these either.
So the idea was to get you to be honest, but in the end, you had to be dishonest in order to be honest.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, because there always had
That,
to be
that's
something wrong.
right.
Yeah, I
Why do you
mean,
think that there had to be something constantly wrong? I mean, you from what you've explained to me is you were looking at yourself for the most minute things, being in the shower, a hair out of place, saying Nirvana. Um, did, and I'm sure you ran through, well, maybe I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you run through scenarios? Well, if they bring up Nirvana, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to act? What am I going to be? How am I going to behave? Did you do all that?
yeah, I mean, I feel like 5 nights out of 7, I couldn't even sleep because I would lay there and think about all the different things that I could have done wrong. And today that still
Right.
affects me because today I still tell on myself for everything. I mean, the silliest things like, I took, 2 drags of someone's cigarette. I feel so guilty. I have to tell them, or, if I have a boyfriend, if I accidentally looked at a guy that I thought was good looking, I literally would tell him, I'm so sorry, but, there was someone that I looked at and you might have seen me do it. And, I would never cheat on you. It's just, I just accidentally glanced, and I would feel so horrible, like I was a bad person, like I was a cheater, like how could I do that to someone I loved? And all I did was look at someone.
So I guess in some realms they would call that awfulizing or catastrophizing. Just everything is such a BFD, a big fucking deal, and
Yeah,
it's really not.
no, not at all. But everything was so
But you weren't that way
magnified.
before you went. Were you
What?
that way before you went to Cascade?
No, no, not at all. I didn't feel guilty. I felt guilty for things that a normal person would feel guilty for, but not things, like
Sure.
looking at someone or, saying a word or peeing in the shower or little things like that. No, I didn't
Mhm.
feel bad at all. I was just a normal teenager, having fun, learning from mistakes, but, you know, doing whatever I did. But Cascade, from the day I got there until today, I still have guilt, shame, and feel like I have to tell everybody everything that I might have done that might not have been perfect.
Right.
When we were there,
So, like,
student
dur-
was each student was given a negative statement and a positive statement later, but every student was given a negative statement that, went with them after a few months of being there. And mine was, I will never be good enough. And, I don't know if part of me feels like they ingrained that in me and conditioned me to believe that about myself, because still to this day, getting a 97% in a college class overall, I looked in the mirror and looked at myself and said, why did you not get 100? So,
harsh,
yeah.
harsh.
And
Now,
yeah.
during the daytime, you experience a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, um, a lot of mental masturbation, if you will. I'm wondering about what happens at night. Do you experience any nightmares or night terrors or anything like that?
Yes, definitely. I never had nightmares well, I don't remember having nightmares or night terrors or anything of that nature. Before Cascade, I'm sure I did, but while I was at Cascade, I would have them all the time about the forums, about the workshops, about if I did anything wrong, what they're going to tell my parents, you know, everything. And now I still have trouble sleeping for sure recently since I've been talking about Cascade. I have nightmares and wake up and think that I'm still there, and that I'm at certain counselors' houses that were very abusive and that they're abusing me like they did to others. So, yeah, I get really scared and I wake up and I am so grateful that I am not there. And then I think about, these
Yeah.
kids that are at places like that and are having the nightmares and waking up and it's real. And it makes me so sad.
I know we use the term real loosely, saying that we woke up, and it's different from waking up from a night terror or a nightmare. It's a kind of a conscious thing, and you go, "Oh wow, I really went through that. That really happened." How long ago was that for you?
It's been a slow process, but I really woke up about 4 months ago. Um, I had a dream about Cascade, about one of the workshops, and I woke up and I don't know, it was the weirdest thing. I was like, did is that real? Like, did everything for those 26 months really just did it happen? And I know this sounds crazy, but it was almost like, I was telling someone else's story when I tell people, oh yeah, I got sent to a boarding school for 26 months, in passing. And yeah, we couldn't wear clothes, we had to, no makeup, no jewelry, no music, shave my head down to the skin, and I tell people that and they don't get it. They don't get that the whole world stopped when I was there.
Yeah, and
Um,
we talked earlier a little bit about, you were talking about uh, you couldn't wear makeup, you had to shave your head because at the time you had a mohawk going on. But at one time you were instructed to wear white.
oh,
What was the whole thing about dressing in white? What was that? What was happening there?
well, there are a couple things about wearing white. So we had Sunday dinners, and I'm not sure if we had to wear white or dresses, but I have a lot of pictures, and um, it was very strange. They would have us, dress up for Sunday dinners, but there was no special dinner. But there was something about wearing white that I was not at the school for, that was a practice. And it was, I'm not sure what it was called, but it was actually part of one of the workshops that we did, our last workshop, which was called the symposium. And I believe it was done after that. And what would happen is the nearest building was 60 miles away. It was like the Reading Mall. And they would send a student there and drop them off for a few hours with $5. And they had to do three things. They had to, buy a stranger something. They had to have a conversation with a stranger. And I forget what the third one was. But they had to dress in all white and they had to panhandle, which is illegal. And then they would get picked up. And I guess the point of that is something to do with Synanon. I guess that was one of their practices. I'm not sure why they stopped doing that before I got to Cascade. There were a couple things they did that they stopped, thank God. The other one was actually in the same workshop as well. And what we did is, as I told you, we had negative statements. Each person, mine was, I will never be good enough. Some people's was, I'm unlovable or I'm disgusting. It just depended on, you. And in this last workshop, we had to mill around with, the 20 people that we did the workshops with, that we were there with for the whole time. And we had to walk up to our best friend. And, this is almost 2 years in, and we had to stare them in the eyes for 30 minutes and tell them everything negative about them. So we had to bring up everything we knew. So, for example, I walked up to my best friend, and this was not her name, but let's say her name was Susie. And I had to, for 30 minutes, stare her in the eyes and say, Susie, you are a whore. Susie, when your dad raped you, you deserved it and you probably liked it. Susie, when you got raped when you were 14, it was completely your fault because you were on drugs. You're a slut. You've slept with 30 people. You're a piece of shit. And the counselors would walk around and make sure we were saying that stuff and egg us on, and be like, and tell her about this, and remind her about, when she, admitted to masturbating, and make sure not to forget, to tell her that she's a piece of shit too. And, for 30 minutes. And then they would ask us to close our eyes. And before I got there, when you opened your eyes, I guess you were supposed to slap your best friend. I never saw it, so this is just what I hear. But for us, we had to open our eyes after cussing them out and telling them they were horrible for 30 minutes and look them in the eyes and not even say anything nice. And then, we walked around the room and had to say negative things to other people as well, but and have them say it to us. But this 30 minutes to rip apart your best friend, I don't know how that is helping anyone, me or that person. I don't know how that is healthy in any way, shape, or form, to rip someone apart like that and then slap them across the face. I mean, what did they tell our parents we were doing in these workshops? Because I tried to tell my parents about some of these things, and the counselors would hang up the phone when I started, and then would tell me that if I told them, the parents would tell, and I would have to stay longer, or I would be on dishes, I would have a consequence. So, we couldn't tell them what happened in these workshops, and it was horrifying.
Yeah, I'm thinking back on my own experience, that hauntingly mirrors yours. Um, Ours was sporadic. You never knew when it was coming.
Mm,
And I'm thinking of how, that lingers on to this day where, I've been labeled with explosive temper disorder. And what that means is I do what you just described to an average person. I strip them down. I rip them apart.
mhm.
And it's like, wow, that goes against my entire character. That's not
Yep.
who I am. But I have the capacity to create tremendous damage.
Yes.
Does that affect you as well?
Yes, it does. And yeah.
The um the idea of the treatment center. I saw. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he said that a good treatment center should not have a support group. Do you remember that saying?
I
Or
haven't
did you
heard
see
that.
that?
So,
A good treatment center, a good treatment facility will not have a support group.
okay.
And that's an amazing thing because there's hundreds of us, and you know, and you're a part of the watchdog group of breaking code silence as I am. Uh, what kind of changes have you noticed going through? I mean, after you woke up, and then all of a sudden this big movement's there. What kind of changes have you gone through with that?
Um, I'm starting to well, I'm much more aware of my thoughts and then my feelings and my behaviors. And, you know, every thought that I get, I try to stop my thoughts. I've been noticing, and most of what I think and what I feel is not really reality. It's a very skewed, um, negative outlook. And, since breaking code silence, and since, you know, the movement has blown up a little bit, um, I, I have become more involved, but I am trying to separate myself as well. It's very hard for me. I'm an all or none kind of person, and I have so much to say, and I have so much that I want to do, and so many people I want to help, and I want, to be a part of this. But then there's this other part that, I'm getting nightmares, um, and I'm remembering things that I wish were not real. Um, so I'm just trying to um, take it all in, and and then share with others and make sure that I'm not alone. And thank God this is happening when I'm ready, because I'm not alone. And there are so many people and so many schools that have been through what I've been through and can understand. And I thought I was alone and no one could understand how I was feeling. And 26 years later, that I was the only one who was still bothered by it, and saying, my life was basically ruined because I got sent to boarding school at age 14. And people thought it was so ridiculous and couldn't understand. And now finally, people are starting to be able to understand a little bit, of what we've been through and what is still there, because these schools are not
Yes.
gone.
No, the industry, as a friend of mine, Rick, says, is much too smart for that. It's much more insidious than that. You shut down in one place, the same
Open
person
up.
can go to another state and do the same thing. The same
And they
MO.
choose certain states because of laws. Recently also found out that places like Florida and Virginia, the people who open these schools really research to make sure, they're not going to get too many lawsuits. Try to find the places, with the laws for statute of limitation, and things with children. And actually, someone said something to me the other day that horrified me and shocked me. And it was someone who actually was a former student of Cascade, and worked at a school called Carlbrook, that was opened by people who started Cascade in 2002. Kind of like CEDU was,
Mhm.
CEDU existed, people went there, became counselors, left there, started Cascade. Same thing happened. People from Cascade started a school called Carlbrook in Virginia, and the school, got shut down in 2015 and was abandoned. Um, but I just I don't understand, how or why these schools get shut down and then they can just reopen. I mean, with no licenses, I don't know.
Accountability. Accountability. Um,
Yeah. Um, I totally forgot there was something I was going to tell you about the connection with the two schools, and now I cannot remember what it was.
the you were talking about how the people had left, Cascade and started this other school, and that you would talk to this person, and that's pretty much where you were.
So, yeah, there was a girl who went to Cascade, and did not start, or I'm not sure if she was part of starting that other school or not, But the same things happened there. They had the exact same workshops. The same abuse happened. I'm not sure what the deal is with the way they hire people, but I know at Cascade, I said before the first 4 years that nobody even had a license except in history and fine arts. I guess the other school people did have licenses, um, but it I don't know, it got abandoned, it got shut down on a Wednesday. They were told it was going to get shut down, and Sunday it was gone. And that school has a bunch of bankruptcy and a bunch of people looking to have class action lawsuits, etc., because there were two students that were never found that ran away from that school and still have not been found. So I don't know. I don't understand why people would go to a school like Cascade, and supposedly get healthy and learn all these great things and open up a school and try to help people, but they're not trying to help people. The people opening these schools, all they want is money. They aren't hiring people with degrees. They're abusing the children. I mean, I don't understand how they can legally open a school, without people who have licenses and do therapy.
The in the past 4 or 5 months that you kind of stirred awake, and then you found yourself, in this movement. You found yourself being a part of this movement and doing what you can within it. Um, are there any other areas that you're looking to get into, whether it be personal or whether it be in terms of advocating, anything like that?
Yes, I want to do everything I possibly can to help, either get these places shut down or expose them. Um, and I want to try to get some justice for some of the things that happened at Cascade when I was there. Um, I'm not
Mm.
sure if I'm going to be able to. I know there's a lot of people who, have been through a lot and want things to come to light. But the problem is that, I can talk about my experiences, but the people who were really, really hurt or are no longer with us because they were really, really hurt for some reason do not want to talk. So it's very hard for me because I want to advocate, but nobody will let me advocate for them because they are either in denial or it's just too painful. So, I'm
Uh,
hoping
I,
that
I, I,
what?
I personally divided into two areas. Uh, that first area being, the child that can't speak for themselves right now. The other half of it is I want to advocate for the survivors, for you, for the thousands of us that there are. It's we're doing good work, and the focus on children, but we have to be role models and do something to better ourselves from the hot mess we're in. Uh, would you agree with that?
Definitely, definitely, yes. And
I was
you
just
know, what?
I said I was just curious. I was just curious because I think a lot of us are. It's like we don't know what to do for ourselves so much, so we're going to reach out and try to help somebody that's already in a hot mess, and that's good and that's admirable. But I think we do ourselves a disservice if we don't learn how to begin to heal within our own being.
So
But that's
that's the
just
part
my,
that is so difficult for me is, um, I guess in the process of healing, as I, realize more and more, um,
yeah,
that helps me heal. But in the past 4 months, since the movement and since, me coming out about what I've been through, um, it's it's actually I'm in a very dark, painful place right now. I feel like I'm in the middle of the the dirt and the junk, the stuff that happened when I was there that I'm waking up to. Um, I'm having a very hard time separating myself from who I am and who they told me I was. And I don't know
yeah,
if that makes any sense, but if you
yeah,
ask me what my hobbies are, things like that, I honestly don't know. Um, because as I said, in the other interview, my life started, being kind of disabled and in a wheelchair because I was pigeon-toed and feeling different. And, then getting sent to Cascade in the 8th grade, I never really had a chance to develop and, explore, as I was trying to with my mohawk and stuff. But, I never had a chance to find out who I am, what I believe, and, what I want to be. Like, yes, I do know those things, but half of it is stuff that I was told, this is who you are, you are, a weak person, you are a bad kid, you are someone who is never going to be good enough, no matter how hard you try. You are always, going to be a failure. You are always going to be different. These are the messages that were sent to me when I was broken down at Cascade, when I was just learning about self being an independent person and how to have a self image and hobbies and dreams and goals. And it was all just completely stopped and cut off. And when I was there, they made me dress a certain way, they made me talk a certain way, they made me do certain things. And I missed a lot. And sometimes I feel like I'm still that child because I haven't had
yeah.
a chance to grow, and it's
You,
very
you've
upsetting and very
experienced,
frustrating.
you've experienced what I kind of call an identity break. They've taken it. They've taken it from.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the good news. The good news is, I know waking's up hard to do. It is a difficult thing to do. Uh, the good news, you have survived the worst. Okay,
Yeah.
it can only get different from here. You know, you went through that, and that's the worst part. You know, uh, you don't have to go about this gracefully. You don't have to go about it comfortably. It's not a lot of fun. In fact, it's a long road to hoe. It really is. But you're not that person that they said you were. They gave you a bill of sale that was filled with lies.
Yeah, they
And
were
I've
supposed
come
to,
to,
you know, supposedly they, broke us down and built us back up, but the only thing that built me up was they gave me a positive statement in that last workshop that was, I am a strong and passionate woman, and that's it. When I still, they gave me a two characters during certain workshops where we would have to act these characters out and make fun of ourselves in front of everyone. And my first one was olive oil, and I had to dress up like her and in front of 20 people walk around and scream, Popeye, Popeye, save me, I'm going to kill myself, and just totally make fun of myself. And then the other one was Wednesday Adams because I was a day short of Tuesday. You don't tell a kid that. You don't treat a kid like that, and then have them,
Yeah.
mock themselves in front of 20 other people and have them laugh at themselves, and
Yeah.
that doesn't just go away after time. And the therapy that I have done, it's helped, but it's not gone. The saddest thing is there is a part of me that truly believes what they taught me at Cascade, because where my brain was at ages 14 to 16 was very impressionable. And I know I can be conditioned the opposite way, and can put positive for the negative, but the way I see myself is still like it was at Cascade, and it's very sad. You know, I guess
Mm.
hopefully the healing will start from here, but part of me is not sure if I will ever be the same, and I don't think I will.
Well, the um, the truth of the matter is I think you're right, uh, but I don't think it's all encompassing. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I will always have scars from my experience, but what I've learned to be able to do through therapy and reading and talking and this, that, and the other, is taking a lot of the sharp teeth out of it. I don't get near as angry as I used to. I don't have near as many night terrors. My relationships are better. It's but it takes time, and that's one concern I have for you. It's 4 months or anybody. 4 months to 12 months, you want to read everything, you want to devour everything, you want to sink yourself into everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stop you. I can only say, whoa, slow down, take it easy. The information will be there when you're ready.
One thing at a
You know,
time.
it's, yeah, but you're not going to do it. I didn't do it. I don't know anybody else that's done it either. But the good news is like you said earlier, you're not alone. If you can't get me, there is at least 20 other people you can get, and that's easy. Um, I
Yeah,
just wanted to
that's
ask one
that's
more
the
question.
cool part. Yes.
Yeah, it really is. I just wanted to ask one more question before we wrapped up, and that's why you agreed to sit down and have this interview with me.
So say that again. Sorry.
I
Why
just
did
wanted,
I?
I just wanted to, why you, yeah, just why you wanted to have this interview.
Um, I wanted to have this interview because I want to tell the world that a couple things. First of all, that there are places that you would never think exist that do. And the things they do to children are horrific. Um, and I want to let the world know that I was hurt and I was scared and I basically lost most of my childhood. Um, and I didn't do anything to deserve it. And if you're in the same place and you went somewhere like I did and went through some of the things that I went through, you're not alone either. There are so many of us. And I just want to be a part of, the community of people who have been through this kind of stuff and understand and know the other side. I want to be on the other side, which is, where I am hopefully heading, to more of where you are, where I'm still a survivor and I still feel pain, but I can help someone else and hopefully somehow prevent people from having to go through what I have had to go through, because I am 42 years old and I still feel like that kid.
I understand.
So,
I understand completely. I want to
yeah,
thank you because I believe you are a courageous soul. I think you're very brave and a very passionate soul. I think it takes a lot to go through the bundle of nerves that you've gone through just so you can speak the truth. You know, I mean, it rattles people to the core to speak the truth, and you did it anyway. And I'm proud of you.
thank
I'm
you.
very proud of you. I
Thank you.
appreciate your time talking with me. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for having me.